Tim, because so many teams are in it, and I guess it is the season, trade deadline season, got about a month. Because of the parity in the American League, then, do you see teams being a little bit more hesitant on trying to sell? I know Baltimore in this case, we're looking at it going, okay, they got expiring contracts. They're still well down the totem pole here. They got players that they could move and players that teams would want, quite a bit. Do you think that this market's going to be more seller than buyer, or do you think that more teams are going to try to buy because of all the points that we just mentioned about this weaker American League?
Ryan, in this day and age, when you have a chance to win, as Earl Weaver used to always tell me, if you have a chance to win this year, you have to try to win. And then you figure out next year. And because of that, 2 extra wild cards in the last few years, if you have a chance to get in, you have to try everything you can. So I think more teams, you're going to look at them and say, they are buying. How could they buy at this point? Because they think, well, again, the American League might fall. You talked about the Twins. You know how bad the Twins are right now, the slump they're in? Oh, my gosh. I predicted that the Rangers would be the best offensive team in the American League this year, and they have been shut out 10 times, as many times as the Pirates. The point is, the American League has made no sense, and because of that, the Orioles have to look at this and say, one of 2 things are going to happen. We're either going to unload a bunch of guys or we're going to try to stay in this thing. But with expiring contracts, Zach Eflin and Cedric Mullins, they have some really difficult decisions to make. And I've told you before, GMs have told me, this is when you earn all your money. Right now, are we in or are we out? Incredibly difficult franchise-changing decisions are made right now. And it'll be fascinating to see what the Orioles do, because they're one of those teams, they can't give up on next year, even if they don't make it this year. They still have to look at next year and say, we still have a good team here. We could contend next year. They can't trade this year and ruin next year also.
Yeah, I mean, the Orioles are in or out. They're not rebuilding, they're retooling to be a top contending team in 2026 if they're not able to right the ship and make the postseason this year. But then let's stay on that for the trade deadline in general. Is there a team that maybe no one's talking about in baseball that you're sitting there going, wait a minute, this team's intriguing. They might be aggressive, and also they got some pieces that could surprise people. Is there any team, American or National League, that you're keeping your eye on?
Well, it's a stretch, but the Braves are starting to play now. Finally, they've won 8 out of 11. They're starting to score some runs. Ronald Acuna Jr. is hitting .396 with 9 homers and 100 at bats since he came back. Chris Sale is great again. Spencer Strider's starting to deal. So they're well under 500 in a very stout National League, completely different than the American League. But I know that clubhouse really well, and I know they're in there saying we're going to get hot, and I think it's already started. Now, do I think they're going to come back from an 0-7 start and make the playoffs? I'm going to say no. But to count the Braves out, even in a formidable National League, I think would be a mistake.
Yeah, especially the National League in general. I'm looking at it right now. The Braves sit 4 games under, 6 games off a wild card spot. If they were in the American League, they'd just be 4 out of that final spot.